Hello and welcome. Today I'm really excited to have Gary Mitchell with us to talk about strategy and specifically customer focus strategy. Before we get into that though, Gary, would you love to just give the guys maybe 30 seconds, 1 minute introduction about you and your background?
Yeah, thanks, Marcus. I've got, frighteningly coming up to 40 years of experience working in industry. 25 years of those were in transformation, in manufacturing, in logistics, supply chain, and latterly retail. And mainly, interestingly, actually, everybody thinks digital transformation is new. Mostly, though, most of those were IT-related transformations. And the last 15 years, I transitioned to bringing senior teams together to build their business plans and strategies to support investment events. So either pitching for investment, exit, or, in some cases, turnaround. I like to think I bring a different perspective to strategy because I've approached it from the transformation angle rather than having been a strategist all my life. So I'm very focused on the A to B journey. You're at A, what's it like? You want to get to B, what's it like? Why is it a good idea? And what is that journey going to be? And do I believe what you're saying about B and the journey? And that's where I come from. Bit longer than 30 seconds. Apologies for that.
We'll let you off. But I think that's kind of how you and I met. We met through Marcus Cowkey. And I was actually just struck at how refreshing your approach to strategy was. You were just getting back to the fundamentals, simplification, and actually talking a lot about how a lot of businesses don't really have a strategy. So I'd love for you just to talk a bit more about that now, actually, because most people say, well, we do have a strategy, we want to hit these targets and we're doing this and we're fine right now.
Yes, many businesses, not most businesses, many businesses kind of survive without a strategy or think they have a strategy and it isn't a strategy. So many businesses approach planning in a functional fashion. So it is functional forecasting, functional budgeting. And the issue with that is you tend to lose sight of the customer. And you also tend to lose sight on the common focus of the business. What are the things we have to get done? And you lose sight of that shared purpose, of course. I like to say strategy. When I first meet clients, I say, look, strategy is easy. It is, the outcomes of what we're going to do together. We are going to find out what are the 5 things we need to do together in the next 18 months to achieve a winning position that will be the platform for our aspirations in the 3 to 5 year timeline. And it's as simple as that strategy.
Okay. So I'm just going to play with it. Imagine, I'm getting some free consultancy here, Gary, but from Fountain's perspective, so we do have 3-year goals. We've got monthly revenue targets. We know the sort of clients we're going after and we're speaking to them. So that feels to me like a strategy. I guess where we might be a little bit guilty is the word customer is not used massively, other than here's the sort of customers we want to go after. We obviously love our customers and, look after them and want to help them, grow and hit their targets. Of course, we're a performance marketing agency. So if you're working with someone like us, where would you say, no, you need to start looking at it like this?
Yes, the customer often gets lost. Okay, so your strategic plan tends to be about you and not the customer.
Right.
Because you're very internally focused. You come together and you go, right, we've got a plan. And you go, I know we need to win more business. So we need to improve sales. We need to do better in marketing. We need to update our platform so that it's more scalable, etc., etc. The customer can very easily get lost because of the world you're living in every day, which is you're struggling to do your functional jobs. when I start planning with teams, I like to ask them. Well, I play a role when I come and plan with teams. I call myself the intelligent idiot, and I play both roles very well. I'm I'm fairly intelligent and fairly bright, I suppose, but I'm a bit like an investor. I'm a third party. I don't know what you do. I certainly don't know what you do and who you work for to the depth that you guys know.
Mm.
So I'm an idiot in that sense, and so I'm quite like an investor, because external investors don't know what you do, they don't know how you do it or why you do it or what the potential is, and you have to explain to them. So I act as this intelligent idiot, and I act as my not threat. Threat's the wrong word. My challenge is the right word. My challenge to people is, if you can't explain it to me, how are we going to explain it to the others?
Mm.
And that works for investors, and it also works for your organization.
Mm.
And the whole thing about the customer focus first is because your money comes from customers, and it's very tempting not to close any doors with your business and go, well, we mustn't make our propositions less attractive to anybody.
Mm.
Whereas actually, in reality, you've got a scarce set of resources and a scarce set of investment. And so and this is where my transformation background comes in, is when I'm rescuing a program, they've spent all the money, they're all falling out, they've got no common objectives. And what you've got to find is, where is the winning position that I've got to move these guys to?
Mm.
And we all need to agree, because we haven't got the bandwidth to do everything we can think of. And equally with customers, you haven't got the bandwidth to serve every customer, or more importantly, to win in every customer segment. So I will ask you, who are your best customers? And I will go through your customer list with you, creating categories of customers. And surprise, surprise, in every occasion, we find that some groups of customers are better customers than others, and some groups of customers present more opportunity for the future growth and future development than others. So that's kind of where I come from, because once we've defined who are our best customers, we can talk about how we win in that customer segment. So who we need to be to win those customers.
It's so interesting, because I think I haven't done that well enough, right? We haven't done that. We have gone through it. Also, we look at all of our customers, and we all know that not all customers are created equal. I like to think, when we've looked at putting together a marketing strategy of who we want to speak to, we have definitely considered customer profiles and so on. But what you're talking about is building a strategy almost from that as the foundation. If I understand what you're saying correctly, it's not sort of saying like, let's look at some numbers and revenue targets. Yeah, let's actually begin with this as sort of block one.
Yeah, the number. I mean, aspirationally, we can say we want to be 3 times as big, but if you try and put a number on that, I'll punch you in the face. So, because you haven't explained which customers are going to bring that to us. Now,
I love it.
Now it begins. It's not about the customer either. It's about what the customer wants to do. So if I leave it at the customer only, it sounds like I'm creating a set of avatars and all that bullshit, right? You're in marketing, you know that shit. It is not about the customer, because the customer only buys when they are in a certain situation, and they only buy if your proposition takes them nearer to their objective. So I ask people, what is your transformational proposition to those customers?
Ooh.
And people always go, oh, well, you know, not all companies have transformational propositions. But I challenge you to show me companies. Well, and they go, well, we sell. What about a company who sells nails? Well, they don't just sell nails, do they? They help people build better stuff, right? So they help joineries in particular have a more get all their stuff from one place, and there's always something around it, right? I made that one up. That's why it's such a shit example. Sorry.
No, but I get what you're saying, right? You know,
but it is. You're always helping. You know, I had a fintech client, a very, very large fintech client who sold banking software, right, to banks, big banks, and you know, their misconception is banks wanted software. They want the best loan software. They want the best treasury software, and it's bullshit, right? What banks want now is their big problem solving. They are sitting on mountains of legacy software. It's very expensive. It's not connected up. It is not agile enough to take them towards their future. And they see a digital future, and they're being challenged by digital entrants into the banking sector. And they want a path from A, the legacy, to B, a digitally platform major bank, whatever that means and however that looks. And they're looking for a partner to take them from A to B. Sure, a great software that is API connectable and hostable in the cloud is part of that story, but that's not their problem.
I get it.
They can buy that software from a number of people, and it's more or less the same.
I really
can argue features, but their key challenge is getting to that digital future, because that is a tough journey, and anybody can help them and give them help them navigate that journey is the client. Is the partner that they seek, and therefore the strategy that we needed to make was one about we're selling transformation paths, or transformation safety, or transformation route, and that's how we differentiate. So that's a bit of a special example, but
no, and I imagine that's probably quite. A lot of people get a number of aha moments, because it's probably quite painful, because they've come so far on their journey that they've sort of made all these assumptions that this bit's probably okay. But
that's their legacy. I mean, I would ask you, for your best clients, what are the situations in which they want to buy, and what are they trying to do with your services? Are they trying to double in revenue? Are they trying to scale? Are they trying to transform the way they do marketing now into a more digital future? What are they, transforming to digital is not a greater purpose. Being able to scale marketing is more a greater purpose. Doubling revenue is a big purpose. Or, when people make major investments in companies, they are trying to do something. And if you know who your target customers are and what is on their top 3 things to get done that makes them personally and as a business much improves their position, and if you can be key to that journey, a key part of that journey, and be seen as essential to that journey, and to be seen as to understand that journey. And when you talk to them in that language. You may have a number of customer groups that you sell well to. But interestingly, you will have to talk. You may have to talk. They may be trying to do different things, and you may have to talk different languages to each of the group. You don't talk to the customer about you. You talk to the customer about what they want to do and how you can be important in that and valuable in that journey. And each of those three top customers may need a completely different language.
Yeah. As a marketer, you're speaking my language now. So let's bring back to, so let's bring back. So you come in to build a customer focused strategy. You've got to, you see that everyone's just got we got some functional forecasting and some budgets, and we want to go over here, and that's our strategy. And actually, the first thing you do is go, no, let's go to your customer base. Let's see who the best customers are based on profit, lifetime value, etc. Segment them up, and then with that top sort of segment or quintile or whatever, you start going, what's the transformational proposition? So how are you actually changing their lives? Not what are you doing in terms of activities? What's the outcome that they're renting from you? So once you've got those, and there'll probably be a bit of back and forth because they haven't really thought about that too much, or if they have, it's a light thing. Whereas you're drilling down, like you say, the sort of intelligent idiot who's sitting in the business going, but why? Like, what are you actually doing? What are the top three things that they would say that has impacted their lives? So once you've got those two, Gary, what happens next? How do you start building this up?
Well, look, those conversations, it's not that people don't know the answers to my questions. It's just that rarely they talk about them together. So a big part of my value is actually creating that space in your agenda and putting those questions to you so you can have a conversation and you can align on that. I'm not bringing any great knowledge to every client. I've worked with everything from Fireglass to fintech to telecoms recycling, and film. What do I know about film? Don't know. But I'm very interested in everything. But they don't, you're in your functional lives and you don't really take the time and get encouraged to walk down this questioning together and reach the conclusion. So you might talk about bits of this together in ones and twos and threes, but in fives you don't really do it. And also, strategy is about choice. So I will point them at, the fact, well, can you do all of this? No. Okay, well, which ones, if you had to choose, which ones would you do, and all of that stuff. So I come down the path, customer transformational proposition, and then we're back towards your plan, because it's the where are we now and what do we do to be able to be the best option for that customer. So what do we have to do? They'll probably be in your plan already, and people will know that. Well, we need to improve that. We've not got this. But actually, when you start talking about the things in your plan already, you've already got that customer focus, so you can talk about them in a different context.
Brilliant.
And the other context, the other concept that I want to bring that is directly related to my transformation experience and the experience from rescuing great big ERP programs that, everything's on fire and people that hate each other and spent all the money.
That must be fun to walk into those, Gary. Gosh.
But it actually really fits with the current turbulent market position. Where we really don't know in 2 years' time what life is going to look like.
Yeah.
So our planning horizon has to be relatively short. Now, it can't be 6 months because we can't do anything meaningful in 6 months with the best will in the world, because we've got to do the day job at the same time. It can't be 3 years because 3 years is, and I'm a transformation guy. If somebody says I'll do that in 3 years, it means they're not going to do it, right? So I typically use 12 to 18 months as a target. And I ask people, what is your winning position in 18 months? What 5 things will you have done, and what will that mean or how will the business look when you've done it, and why will that be the best possible position we can be in for whatever we think might happen, to actually the 18 months after that to actually start getting a return on that investment and meeting our aspirations. So this is a very handy, and in fact, in ERP transformations, I walked into every program rescue, and the thing that was missing every time was nobody actually agreed cross-functionally what the business had to look like once we'd finished putting all this software in. So it's the same concept. Talk me through how the customer journey is going to work. How's marketing going to work, and how's the sales journey going to be, and how's the customer implementation journey going to be, or the distribution journey, or the delivery experience, or the store experience, whatever. If people can't talk me through that, then we haven't got our winning position defined, and therefore the 5 things we're going to do might be disconnected.
It's so interesting, because it sounds to me like you walk in and everyone's sort of planning in silos, prioritizing their own department. Know, in a positive light, they just think our department can do a lot of the heavy lifting. In a negative light, they're just perhaps trying to cover their own asses.
Interesting you say that, because another big strategic mistake is people are trying to please their shareholders,
right? And
people imagine that shareholders, what do shareholders or the board, what do they want? Well, they want a massive revenue commitment, and if we give a smaller one, they'll be unhappy.
Yeah.
They want us to address the hot buttons of the day. So we'll have a look at AI. We'll have a look at Internet of Things. We'll digitalize our business.
Yeah.
And again, we're looking internally, and we're using buzzwords, and and then they want a target. So the revenue target, how should we justify it? Well, we'll use market share, right? Now, let me tell you about market share. Market share is a backward-looking thing, right? It is based on the purchasing preferences, historical purchasing preferences of people who might be in your market. Now, if you've got anything like a new product, market share won't tell you anything, because there is no fucking market, right?
Yeah.
So I plan on customer trajectory, right? And all of my plans look the same, have the same shape. Given that I now work with private equity SMEs, who, from 10 to 100 million, that's the typical size. But all the plans look the same shape, and let me tell you that shape now, because if I'm talking to an SME audience, you will recognise that shape. So within each of your customer target customer segments, and I don't want any more than 3. You will either have what I call a halo client, a perfect client, and a client that other people look at and want to be like. So that if you say we do work for that client, other people will go, oh, we have to consider Marcus because they do work for that. That's interesting. Let me learn more about it. And you will get on their top 3. You will be in their mind. What's the marketing word? Their mind share. You will have mind share or whatever.
Front of mind, I normally say.
Yeah. You'll have that. So if you haven't got a halo customer, then all the strategy is about getting one. right?
I like it.
Because if you haven't got one, then your future growth, you won't have an advocate, and you won't have you know, an ideal reference, right?
Mm.
You won't have a credible reference. That credible reference, by the way, has got to be an advocate. And
Yeah.
people think their Halo customers are blue chip customers, and actually blue chip customers are not very good advocates.
No.
Unless you do something truly transformational for a blue chip customer.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to do something as a small company that is truly transformational for a blue chip customer. So your Halo customers are likely to be smaller customers where you can transform their fortunes with your services. Okay, so that's one little thing I'll throw in. Now, once you've got one Halo customer, you can focus on getting one is not credible. 3 to 5, 5 to 6 is more credible. So your path goes, I'll get 1, I'll get 5. And then around that 5, I'm building a critical mass of sales, of people who've looked at those Halo customers and engaged with you, and you've won because of those Halo customers, and they become a critical mass. And by critical mass, I mean, not only you're getting pounds, you're beginning to get a community, a share of the market. You're beginning to have some fans out there, right?
Mm.
Because as our good friend Marcus Kauke says, you know, if you haven't, the quickest way to grow and the key to high growth is to win advocates, not only customers, but partners and advocates. Okay.
Absolutely.
And if those people are advocates, you don't have to try very hard in marketing.
No.
Because you just leverage the advocates, and so you create a based around the transformational proposition, you know, and it all starts to fit together. Mm. So once you've got the critical mass, you then can enter high growth. You're then allowed into high growth, right? And once you're in high growth, you can then also consider expansion, which is either geographically the same proposition or adjacencies, right? Now, adjacencies, beware of adjacencies. You have to either contribute to that same transformational proposition, and adjacencies are easier to plan if you know what your customers' big goals are and you're playing a smaller part in that big goal. You can play a bigger part and create adjacencies there, either by acquisition or product extension. Or you can tackle another transformational objective, but that's more risky. And where people make mistakes is they offer adjacencies. They go, well, I'm selling to that customer also needs X. But you've been selling into this transformational space, this portion of the customer's success. And if you choose a product that's in another portion of the customer's success, you've got to do all the hard work again.
Yeah. And it might be just too expensive. It's
yeah. So beware about that. So that really is the shape of every plan, and I call it the customer's trajectory, and that is more valuable. Well, once you've established that customer trajectory, it underpins the revenue aspirations that you have, and you can also then use market share to say that that's not unreasonable, but market share cannot lead. So and back to my investor and shareholder point, is that what they want most is credibility. And I was talking to someone the other day, chairman, and you know, board interactions fall down if your business plan is not credible and based on reality, because the board believe you're hiding something or you might be failing. So they ask a lot of questions. Then the CEO starts to evade the questions because the questions are time consuming.
Yeah.
And so actually what happens is you start, it's a game of hide and seek in the board meeting. It's a game of work avoidance for the CEO, and the board ceases to become a support to the business strategy. It becomes an onerous interaction. So building something that has clear rationale, even if you have to give the board some bad messages, not bad messages, but some inject some reality into their thinking early, it can save you a lot of trouble. And actually, I've been in quite a few board sessions where that reality has been well accepted, and they could smell something wasn't quite right, and they didn't know what it was, and the management were evading all the questions. But to have it presented very clearly where we're at, what our opportunities are, and what we're going to do, and you know what, we will commit to this as a management, that is a great message.
No, that's brilliant. Well, I think people just want transparency. Like bad was fine if you say put in the context of here's what went wrong, here's what we've learned, here were the assumptions that were incorrect, and here's the new plan, which has got a much closer grip on reality to get us to where we all want to be.
Yeah. So we transparency is key. We need financial goals, right? Don't let me say you don't need them.
No.
And you need your 3-year financial aspiration, because everybody wants that. Investors want it. They're giving you money. People want a return on their capital, right? So, but what is missing is that 18-month winning position and the 5 things we're going to commit to and absolutely deliver to get there, and the rationale around that. Why is that a winning position? Which customers is a winning position? Why will those customers regard that? Regard you as important in their success, and why? How will you put clear water between you and the competition and begin to dominate as the best choice? And I use the word dominate, and people go, oh, dominate. We're a bit scared of that, that we're not going to dominate. Well, you know what? If you don't set out to dominate, you probably, you're not setting out to win deals.
Yeah.
You've got to approach it with that mindset. Is how do we, against all the other options, show that we are indisputably the best choice? And you can't be the best choice for everybody. So which subset are we clearly the best choice? And let's focus on that subset. And then that makes marketing and sales more effective, because you're not getting leads, all the leads. You're focusing on a very, very much tighter subset. But then people get nervous because we're not getting enough leads. But you know what? You're getting better leads that you can convert because you understand and you're speaking directly to them. Instead of speaking a generic language wide, you're speaking a very specific language tight, and it's always better.
That's brilliant.
Sorry, I've talked too much.
No. I find this so useful. I'm making notes, alongside it, because I want to be able to summarize it for people watching and listening. So because what's fascinating is you're got in by private equity firms that, to help grow their assets from 10 million to 100 million. And this approach works incredibly well, because private equity wouldn't keep coming back to you if this wasn't the case. So if I were to put it into 4 or 5 steps, and you can stop me if I'm wrong, because I'm perhaps trying to simplify, your approach, or summarize it rather, because it's a very simple and clear approach already. So the first step that I've said before is to work out who those halo clients are, the top sort of segments of clients, and no more than 3, right?
You don't have to do external analysis for that.
No.
You have to look at your own clients and talk about them. It's really quite easy.
Yeah. And then the second step is to get that basically, what's the piece of transformation we're doing for them? What's our what are we offering them? What's the outcome they get? And
Well,
trying
you almost slip back into internal language there. In what situation are they buying? What are they trying to do?
Yeah.
Where we add, and then what do we add to that?
I love
because
that.
Yeah.
That's a big piece for me.
It's a nuance, but it is an important nuance.
But
you have to talk that language to them.
Yeah.
You don't talk about what you've got. You talk about what they're doing and how important it is, and how important it is they get there, and that builds the value of your thing.
I love this. It's so true, because it's understanding their entire story up until the point when they needed your services.
My coffee's gone cold now, Marcus. Jesus Christ, somebody's been talking too much.
Yeah, I wonder who that might be. But that's really interesting. It's understanding, like you say, the entire story. So you just have that context when you're speaking to them. You're entering the conversation they're having in their mind.
Yes.
You're not talking about products and services that feel alien and aren't connected there. The third step is to get that alignment and that focus among everyone, because I think that's the big problem that you talk about, is sort of planning in silos, disconnected people, trying to please the shareholders, and not, it's just everyone's pulling in different directions. So it's pulling everyone together. And then the fourth thing,
it's helpful for me and helpful for them to have a simple diagram, an A and a B and a big arrow between them.
Right.
And actually there's a C as well, right? So there's an A, a B, a C. So the A is where we are now, the B is the winning position, and the C is where we want to get to. Right? So you have to be aligned on where the A is. So why do we have to do something? That's the thing. Where the B is, where the C is, which is, which customers are we going to grow this, and how much can we grow it, and does it appear credible? Are there enough of them? Are we participating in something that there are enough customers for, and they perceive it as a very valuable thing? And then the B in the middle is, who do we have to be to actually help to achieve our C objective and be the best choice. So they're the things you have to align on. And it could be done in a one-pager. You put it on the chart on the wall or a whiteboard in Zoom, and you kind of just talk about those things together. So I'm not proposing we do anything dreadfully scientific. It's just that we have conversations with these focuses, and that will bring you to your strategy. That will take you there.
Well, I think because the fourth thing I wrote down, once you've got that alignment and you've drawn it all out and everyone's putting together, is that customer trajectory. But that kind of comes because of what the previous three, right? You then put it back into marketing, everything else. You get the halo clients, the advocates, all the rest of it, which leads me to the final thing that you've said, which is a really interesting question that I'm going to keep asking now, is what's our winning position? What does success look like in 18 months? And what are the 5 things that would have had to happen to have got us there? And that's probably the final point, is if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly.
Yeah, and that is a real thing that we can all aim for and measure, right?
Yes.
So it is something that we will know it when we see it. It's not a revenue figure. It is not a profit figure, because we can manipulate those by actually chasing in the wrong customers or artificially moving costs about, for example. But it is stuff of like, we will have opened an office in America and we will have got our first 2 deals, something like, it's very, very specific, actionable things, because it is only when you make specific commitments in a time frame that is meaningful, that you know in your belly whether that is doable, the right thing, and you know how you feel about it. So you have to speak it out loud. And also the one of the biggest issues with strategy is we choose too many things, right?
Yeah.
So every plan I've ever written with everybody has been wrong, right? Because we've bitten off more than we can chew, or we thought we could do more than we could. Or we have found out in the first 3 to 6 months that we thought we had to do X, but it isn't X, it's Y. Because when we started engaging with the customers or the suppliers, we learned the real story. So I would encourage, if you make a strategy, you should be prepared to be prepared for it to be wrong, to be far too much. And you should prepare your team and your employees and your board for that message. But you should say, look, we'll have a review after 3 months and 6 months, and we'll tighten up.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the problems with the UK is we're still based on we're all educated that we have to do our homework, and our homework is right or wrong, and you get a mark for it, right? Now, I never, from my transformational background, I came in and I went, what are the 3 no-brain things we have to start doing?
Yeah.
And you start doing them, and then you learn about the rest. So real life is, if we can get, strategy consultants write you a strategy, and then they defend it to their last drop of blood. I write a strategy very quickly, and then we socialize it. We see what people are comfortable with. We see what the differences of opinion are. So I interview people, I write a strategy, and they point at the things they like, and they point at the things they don't like. And instead of being offended as a strategy consultant, I ask the question, why is that good? Or why don't we like that? And why do you guys have a different opinion on what that should be? And then we get to the real story by not being precious about, there's far too much pressure on management to be right all the time.
Yeah, so true.
And I worked in a factory. One of my 2 first jobs were in factories, and you promote a guy off the drill machine shop to be a drill supervisor, and then you'd come in and he's having an argument with his former colleagues, and he's trying to be right. And I'm going, look, you're the same guy you were yesterday, right? Just use the knowledge in the room and figure out between you what we need to do. And your role as a manager, and your role as a leader, and my role as somebody creating strategy, is to use the knowledge in the business and try and find the shared purpose, the common position, build you build that shared purpose based on an exciting vision of, we're going to help these people be great, and we're going to be really important, and there's a lot of them, so we can make money doing that, So it's quite, culturally we've got to break.
I agree. There's
break that
one of the mantras,
fear of being wrong. That fear of being wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like, it shouldn't be a binary right or wrong. I think that the mantra I like is that, Malcolm Gladwell talked about doing it 10,000 hours. I came across someone, I think a guy called Michael Simmons, who said you should be thinking about it as 10,000 experiments. So conduct 10,000 experiments. Everything's an experiment. I've got a hypothesis we should do it like this. But actually, as new evidence has come to light, I've changed my mind. I mean, that's the Keynes quote, isn't it? Maynard Keynes. When the facts change, I change my opinion. What would you do, sir? And it's exactly that. A new evidence. It doesn't mean stupid. It just means the assumptions you you came up with were based on flawed premises because you didn't have all the information. That's
I mean,
okay.
I'm not, neither of us are advocating spaffing out hypotheses and just trying any old shit.
No, it's got to be based on.
Do it on paper first, and if you can all sort of agree, if you can all agree on what the 5 things we're going to try are, and we understand the rationale together, and we feel like we can stand up and explain to the board and everybody else who we are and why we need to do this, then that's a good hypothesis to start with. But it's actually takes me back to my digital transformation days when there was no winning position defined. I'd kind of get a loud hailer and go, stand back from the software, don't touch the software, and bring everybody into a room with a load of post-it notes and go, right, how's it going to work? And just let's build the journey on paper first. And let's figure out if we think it will work on paper, and then you start the coding and you start the work. And it's the same thing with strategy. If we can make it work on paper, and by the way, on paper it's 8 slides, not 80, right? You've got to communicate this to investors. Investors have a very short attention span, right? If you don't grab them quick, they're gone. Same with the board. The more senior people get, the less attention they pay to anything, right? No offense, everybody, but I'm nearly 60. But and it's the same with the organization. You need to engage your workforce and on some very simple and powerful ideas and a clear narrative, and that is short. So we need to work hard to find that alignment and find that narrative that we all believe in, and then actually the organization practically runs itself because everybody understands what we're here to do together.
I think it's so powerful. I think when we last spoke, you told me a story about, I won't name the name of the company, but a large retailer that anyone in the UK would recognise, and just what you did to help them simplify. I think you drew out the entire customer journey on sort of post-its or whatever, and just literally looked at the customer's experience, which no one had done throughout the whole thing, and simplified it. So I'd love for you to talk about that, because I think that segues nicely from what we've been speaking about.
Yes, well, we people come. It was an IT strategy job, and people wanted to replace SAP. Wanted to replace this very big retailer's warehousing system, and I know SAP aren't a warehouse system supplier, so I was deeply suspicious of that in the first place. But what we did was we mapped the entire customer journey for the several retail components, so online, business, and stores and airports and stuff. So what we found was nobody understood what the other people in the business were doing. And as we started to map this journey, it was very, very energizing for people to actually explain A, what they did, and B, where the problems were. So you kind of do it with stickies, and you get a yellow sticky. What do you do? What do you do next? Who does it? What do they do it on? And is it shit? And if it's shit, it gets a red one. And we get to talk about the red one, but not too much, because we must move on and complete the journey. And it dominated 3 rooms and 2 corridors. And it became a tourist attraction because we kind of put photographs of what was happening on each key stage, and people used to walk in, do their bit, and then walk around the other bits and go, oh, I didn't realize that happened. And things like returns were truly a black box. And we managed to, the big achievement there was we managed to show that the warehouse was failing because of the overnight processes not completing. So it was a business that was built up of multiple acquisitions. So the multiple ERPs were coming into a delivery scheduling, overnight delivery of packages and 2-day delivery of white goods. So and that whole thing took too long, and then the overnight processes between ERP and warehouse system weren't completing, and therefore the warehouse was failing. So failing to deliver, and so the warehouse got the blame. You fuckers are rubbish, and the system's not, and it hasn't got the orders, and there's lost orders, and the orders haven't come across. But we did that with stickies, and we did that in a matter of weeks, and what we did was brought everybody everybody onto a common view of how things happened and what the 5 things we could do to actually make it happen better. Because, there were 25 things where we could have taken action, maybe 50. But, let's choose the 5 big ones. And so that throws choice right in your face right there. You've got quite a lot of reds around the place, and you go, well, where are the big ones? Where are the big ones that will make the difference? And what you find is if you intervene in one place, then actually downstream everything gets easier.
That's so
you get to choose, but you get to choose where. And where you intervene, actually, it can take out improvements. And that's how you see that functional planning fails. Because if you're all planning in your functions, the downstream function has got 10 things it wants to do. Right. But actually, if you fix this big thing upstream, the downstream thing fades, their issues fade away. And you can see that if you look at the whole customer journey. And we looked at everything from buying to receiving in the central warehouse, to actually distributing to stores, to actually delivery and post-delivery to customers' homes. And it's not that difficult because, as I said to them, you're a fucking shop, right? And people, it can't be difficult. Your customers can't see you as difficult. So It doesn't have to be difficult. So we have to make it easy for the customer, and it's not about us, it's about them. And this is, you've got 400, 600 shops or however many they had then. It doesn't matter. You are just a shop, and you're just a website, and you're just a way of, what the customer wants is a washing machine. The customer doesn't want it doesn't care about anything else, right?
That's brilliant.
So it was a very simple way, but that was what my transformation background taught me, is what is the winning position we need to get to, and what are the things we need to change. And this has held me in great stead when I'm making business plans, because the winning position is never in conventional strategy presentations. It's all about the vision, and it's about the 3 to 5 year vision, which gets you into the realms of vague aspirations. We want to be the biggest and the best and the best in class, and what even does that mean? And it's when you can have a big aspiration, and that's fine, but it's when you come back to that 18 months horizon and say, well, where do we absolutely have to get to?
Absolutely.
And it takes the, if you've got 15 things you really have to do, I say to companies, turn it on its side. What are the first 5? Brilliant. And I say 5, I might mean 4 or 7, but my experience is that you've never quite got the bandwidth to deliver that you think you have. So it's better to deliver 3 really high impact changes to your business than
Perfect.
to pretend to deliver 8 and fail at all of them.
Brilliant. Gary, this is really, really useful. I think I'm gonna draw a line now because I'm just mindful of the time. But no, the final parts have been super useful about obsessing about the customers and getting that focus piece at the end. So look, anyone who wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
I'm on LinkedIn, and I think if you search Gary Mitchell Program Rescue or Gary Mitchell Strategy, you will get to me somehow, and I'm connected to Marcus anyway. So
brilliant. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Gary. Really appreciate it. And,
okay, no, thank you.
Useful. All right. Cheers.
Thanks very much, Marcus.
Bye.
Bye bye.